Hey everyone, welcome back to Make It Happen. My name is Dr. Brent Siebold. I'm the host of this crazy television show on YouTube that nobody watches. Well, actually, we're going to get a lot of views on this particular session because we have an amazing former student of Arizona State University, a former founder affiliated with our Venture Devils program, and a myriad of other funding competitions that he was a part of during his time at Arizona State University as a tech entrepreneur. So Karan Saul is with us today. He's a great guy who has a lot of wisdom to share in the realm of someone who, has gone through a lot to figure out how to create change, how to make an impact in the world of tech. Being an immigrant, being an innovative thinker, being somebody that is not satisfied with the status quo. And I would imagine that many of you, regardless of your background, your nationality, your creed, your socioeconomic status, are probably in a similar boat in one way or another. So, Karan, thank you so much for joining us to help these students who have joined us on their quest to make it happen, whatever that it is. I know you've had a bunch of things you wanted to make happen and you've done that and continue to do that. So really appreciate you being here with us, Karan.
Thank you, Brent. Thanks for having me. It's been an honor being an ASU alum all throughout these years. And I'm glad to be back sharing some of my insights, whatever I've learned. Coincidentally, just this morning, while I was in the shower, I was thinking that 4 years back, exactly on this day, I was actually interviewing with US News, sharing my journey as an immigrant PhD student. And it turns out that on this day, I'm getting the opportunity to share my journey as a founder. But yeah, thank you for having me. Looking forward to a meaningful discussion. Let me just quickly share my screen and we'll get started.
Great. Well, I got to say, this is not US News by any means, but we do have some amazing students here with us today that even better audience than US News, I would say.
Absolutely. I like ASU audience is usually the best. Go Sun Devils. I think I appreciate talking to this audience a lot more than to US News. All right. So let's get started. My name is Karan Sayal. I'm an ASU PhD alum. I'm the CTO and co-founder for this company, CAS Technologies, where the big picture vision is to keep healthcare and patients safe from infections. A topic which is very, very relevant to all of us today. Specifically, given that we are living in the pandemic and epidemic worlds today. Just to get us started, before I get into a little bit more detail, I think what we are trying to do at CAST, we have a pretty unique vision, which is at the intersection of infections and machine learning. And this is driven by two of our primary products to meet both the short-term and the long-term needs of the medical world. So we have a CAST device, which is intended towards diagnosing infections quickly. And we have an IVIS software, which is meeting the immediate need to prevent COVID clusters in a lot of these settings. My team, I think it wouldn't have been possible, my entire journey without them. It's a mix of founders with PhD degrees, like Vindhya is the CEO, and she is basically a clinical researcher. Viksit is an MIT graduate taking care of engineering. We work pretty comprehensively with an ecosystem at UCSB, Stanford, IIT's Mayo. The team is small, startup-ish, about 10 people spread between India and US, and currently supported by Gates, Nesta, and like .edu ventures over here in the Bay Area. Very lucky to be on this journey, and I'm going to share a few snippets of it with you guys right now. So I think before, more specifically in my journey as an immigrant founder, it actually started even before I graduated from ASU. I think the year was 2016. It is what I call the purple patch of my life, in which my heart and mind were in complete sync with each other. It just so happened that one lab experiment in the graduate student, my lab went wrong. And turns out that I had discovered the most important thing in the last 90 years. And this is this is the experiment in which I know it doesn't look that cool, But it turns out that small little V's, which you guys see over here, it's using a very sensitive physics-based plasmonic technique to diagnose infections like 20x faster. So this is the moment at which kind of my journey started as an immigrant founder. Um, Building on this, like we filed patents, we filed papers. This is when I got in touch with Brent and won the Edson Awards, other kind of US awards to start my journey as an immigrant founder. You know, in parallel, while all of these good things were happening professionally, I actually also met my wife, who was an ASU alum. She was my neighbor, and we've been together since then. So I think my whole journey basically started in 2016 with that discovery. And just to give you guys a snippet of that discovery, this was like one key science which we had invented, which nobody else in the field had until that point. Just to see the ability, the impact of that one experiment was so huge that it had the ability to save about 10 million deaths globally. And this science was so powerful that it was about 20x faster and 80% cheaper than whatever was out there. This was like a new breakthrough in the field after about 90 years. And on a professional, personal level, it was very satisfying. I mean, this is when the whole journey started with this experiment, then building upon the fact that this could actually have a huge commercial impact out there. And, like I wanted to be the one to drive that impact home. Uh, Moving us along, I mean, 2016 was 1 year before my graduation when all of these good things were happening. In 2017 is when I actually graduated from ASU. And this is me in the Sun Devil, graduation gowns. I decorated my cap like all of you guys will do as well. Uh, and this is literally the year when reality hit, both professionally and personally, because I got married. And if I get into a little bit of my professional journey, I think in 2017, right after graduating from ASU, I realized that it's not just important to have a great idea or a great technology, which we had, but as an immigrant founder, there were so many other challenges which it came with. So one of the key challenges was that being on an immigrant visa in United States, I could not really kickstart the startup and self-employ myself. I know to a lot of you, it might sound very unfamiliar, but to a lot of immigrant founders out there, this is an everyday struggle and story, right? So this is 2017 is the year when I graduated in June and July. Reality hit that despite making one of the most important discoveries in humankind, I could not actually spin this out as a commercial venture for a range of legal and immigration reasons, which, obviously as a founder, it started building this disconnect between my head and heart in this year. Having said that, I think like since I couldn't start up at that moment, I moved to Silicon Valley with one of the pharmaceutical companies in a very attractive role to lead commercial strategy for a bunch of products over there. And I think like that's basically the plan B. That was the plan B of my life, and that's what I had to pick at that moment. 2018 was actually the year in which I call this year like a good limbo of my life. You know, I was in this amazing job, learning new things every day, driving these projects with about 10, 20, 30 million of everyday impact. I'm in a great position in learning overall, right? I also got to experience the Silicon Valley startup culture, which is as amazing as Phoenix startup culture, but maybe a little bit more. And this was the time in my life when I came across this whole ecosystem of VCs, billionaires, etc. All of them actually have been on the similar journey as I was. So while there was discontent in my heart about not being able to follow my passion, I did find some soothe in the fact that there were so many around us who've been on this journey and one day I'll be able to do it, right? I did get on an immigrant visa, but however, that visa was tied to my professional job or journey in the pharmaceutical firm, and I couldn't really work on the startup at that time. The startup at the same time made a little bit of progress. Like while I was, I could not spin it out officially, we had started collaborating with these researchers globally. we had started writing these small little grants. I mean, this was a grant which we won out of UK, United Kingdom, where we got, I think, a few tens of thousands of dollars to basically do some like MVP testing, etc., for this research. So good Limbo, because while I was professionally learning a lot in my job, there was still this discontent in my heart in terms of, not being able to follow my passion for like different reasons out there. Uh, 2019 is the year in which a lot of different things happened for me, which was just last year. On the professional side, although, I mean, I helped my company launch $1 billion product. We were very successful in launching it just by the fact that we were able to rake in about $1 billion. On the other hand, for the startup, there was a major heartburn for me. And the major heartburn was the fact that while earlier in my, like 3 years back, I was the only one with this technology or invention out there. Now there were two other competing companies which had started to make progress based on that original derivative, original work out of ASU. So there's this company which spun out of Fast. There's a company which spun out of, there's a company Fast which spun out of MIT. There's a company Vitamica which spun out of Cambridge. Both of them building on ASU's derivative science and raising money out there. And I think in 2019 was when the discontent in my heart and mind was the maximum. You know, I knew 3 years back that this idea had merit. I knew 3 years back that this had so much potential, but due to certain challenges on my end, I couldn't really, meet like or be on the passionate journey as a founder, which I wanted to be. However, I mean, I do have to point out that like in my professional commercial journey, I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, I learned a lot. My brain was always ticking. While in 2018, I was managing projects worth 20, 30 million of impact. In 2019, my role enabled me to do these projects worth, few $100 billion worth of impact in everyday like markets around. So this made me into a better businessman. But at the same time, I wasn't able to follow my passion. I mean, for a very large part of 2019. Uh, right after these companies raised money is actually when things started to happen, even in Silicon Valley with the startup. I mean, I clearly remember this being the year when I was practically spending so much time with legal immigration lawyers to enable me, I mean, to enable them to open a door for me to basically, I mean, spin out startup, do these things, you know. I mean, even these immigration lawyers at this point are practically a family to me because we have interacted like so much in terms of opening up doors legally and, like immigration wise to enable me to do these things. So, I think this was 2019 was a major heartburn, as I said. Professionally, a very complicated journey. Personally, we got a house, I mean, which definitely was basically a big personal milestone in my life as well. You guys probably won't understand it today, but maybe in about 10 years, you'll understand this is a big milestone anywhere. Uh, so 2019 end and 2020 beginning was when things started to turn again. This is when those legal, I mean, immigration lawyers basically enabled me to get on what we call the Einstein visa. So this is a visa which enabled me to self-employ myself and work full-time for the startup. And there were a lot of like immigration hoops and hurdles which we had to cross to basically, like get this done. By the way, I think one interesting thing which I did not talk about at this point is these IP issues in 2019. So this company over here, which is the MIT spinout, turns out that they had the exact same technology, which was filed 1 month in advance as a patent than our technology. So there was this whole cluster issue of, the fact that who actually is going to own the IP in the end. Uh, so 2019 was a major discontent year. Like a lot of like things were basically happening. I think this is the year in which I would say that the discontent between my heart and mind was the maximum. But this is also the year in which that huge bridge helped me move things faster along for myself. 2020, the year that we are in actually, was, like basically this was the year when rubber hit the road. I mean, we got the opportunity to do a lot of things. As I said, professionally, I was able to move full time to the startup. Lawyers helped me get an Einstein visa. We got more additional IP clarity. What that meant is that while MIT's patent is valid, ASU lawyers were also smart enough to basically carve out a patent in itself, which is a big deal in the field that we are in. Not only that, given that I had learned so much from 2017 to 2019 in my working role in a pharmaceutical company, I actually understood better the nuts and bolts of a healthy commercial strategy. And that learning enabled us to spin this opportunistic software called IVIS right when COVID was hitting, for us to realize that, like this is a big opportunity out there and we could actually milk it in a huge way. So I think this is like 2020 is in the year when I see that my heart and head are sync again. There are definitely challenges in startup every day, but the most important part is that I'm able to learn, build, relearn, mostly on an everyday basis, which has been a huge driver for like passion and energy for me. So yeah, I mean, this is a little bit about my journey as an immigrant founder. I mean, if I were to quickly summarize it, I think 2016 was when I was on a roll. 2017 is when reality hit me. 2018 is the year I spent in good limbo, learning but still discontented. 2019 was a major heartburn, and 2020, right after that heartburn, was basically this big opportunity which came my way as an immigrant founder, as well as like as a startup founder. So yeah, I think this is a little bit about my journey. Thank you for listening to me. I'm gonna pause here for a minute to see if you guys have any questions. Brent, how are we doing on the time?
Wow, Karan, that was amazing. That might have been the most succinct make it happen story we've ever heard. So you nailed it. Like any good founder, you've been able to craft a narrative that's engaging and compelling, and most importantly, succinct. So thank you, Karan. Really appreciate you sharing your story with us. And yeah, I think the power of this type of session, make it happen, is really about what you have here on the screen is an opportunity to engage in dialogue with students who I think might be resonating with certain aspects of your story, or at least the early stages of your story.
Sure.
So I hope everyone here will join me in a big thank you to Karan. We are going to end this recording. We're going to post Karan's story on YouTube on our Make It Happen channel. But Karan, I would assume you might have at least another 15, 20, maybe even 30 minutes to stick around and have a dialogue with our student innovators.
Absolutely. And I think I'm happy to talk again. Thanks for hosting me. And I think I'm looking forward to the questions. Bring them on.
All right. Thanks, Karan.
All right.